Royal Tenenbaums.
Tenenbaums.
My friend Cam is in search of a character, and aren't we all? He's chosen Richie Tenenbaums
Ten.
to approach full identification with this character. We're making a film about Cam's journey. It's meant to it's a film about Cam, the trials and tribulations that we all face on a daily basis. Tenenbaum. Like 10. That sounds riveting, doesn't it?
Tenenbaum. Yeah.
Think of the Royal Tenenbaums. It's got a fighting chance, because it's Cam's got a real affection for this movie and the character of Richie Tenenbaum, and we'll be along for the ride. Tenenbaum. Listen, everyone, what makes our film about Cam? To really be able to follow the flow of something, to watch all movies, all narratives seem to run on this, linear progression, upwards and upwards, always heightening the stakes. To understand a film and what does about really mean, go with its narrative, we need to know. Cam goes on a journey. He sends himself out there in the world. He's seeking his Richie Tenenbaum-ness. But whereas some are straight, our film goes in a circle. We don't really have any rivers or any direction yet, but that is, I'm sure, to come. Feel it in my water that Cam could use some cheering up. I turned to an old dear friend, Monique. Monique has a way with words. And what she recommended, I say, was emphasize his knowledge of process over product.
Glenn and I made a promise to each other that we would never let each other spend New Year's alone, which is kind of sad and pathetic. But
what's New Year's about anyway?
But one year we actually had a really great time because how you everyone has these crazy expectations about how it's going to be the most fun, best night ever. We were like, ugh. So we went to a midnight movie.
Very linear, very, ascending perhaps, and then the terrible letdown at the end. Life isn't like that. Life is more like our film about Cam.
Bryor's not here to join us this year. She's got work. Every New Year's we do a thing. We like to record ourselves singing a little song together. It's nice. But yeah, it's just me this year.
After we got out of the movie, it was past midnight, so we missed all the hoopla. There was no pressure. It was great.
She told me that fountain Coke tastes better than bottled Coke, and she was right.
Should old acquaintance be forgot?
Da, 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 da.
La 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 la.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Do, 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 do.
Then there was this other New Year's Eve. It's gonna sound kind of cheesy, like it was some sort of out of some made up romantic uplifting feel good comedy, which I hate, and I'd rather stick a needle in my eye than watch. But no, it actually happened, and I don't even remember how, but we ended up that it was just the two of us, and we were ice skating on this frozen, pond or whatever. And just as we started the countdown, 10, 9, 8, it started snowing. It was really beautiful and kind of romantic, but I mean, it was just the two of us, so.
Happy New Year's. Listen, it's always take your time. It's always you'll find your place, alright? You know, I want to be with the stars. I want to be with the greats. I want to be up there. You know, I want to see what it's like, at the very least. Maybe have some more space for my cats, yeah?
You know, I really empathize and feel for Cam. He's seen his siblings find it and go out and get it, and it seems that he feels like he needs to find it, but that's a horrible burden to place on someone, to presuppose that there is an it to be found.
Maybe one day. But it's been a lot of years of me saying maybe one day.
I always think that maybe he had a little bit of a crush on me, you know, and
Is Monique an old flame? Am I an old flame?
I guess if I have to be honest, I may have had like I don't know, like a teeny bit of a crush on him.
Am I maybe even just the pilot light on a modest gas stove?
Just about sick and tired of saying maybe one day.
Isn't this really much more where stories ought to begin and be? Because that's like everyday life. Those are the ups, the downs, the ebbs, the flows that are in the flux. I think that we're going to get to that intermediate stage, you know, when spring comes and the snow starts to melt and we see it going down the street, and it might melt under a little bit and you can jump on those bits and crack them. We need to remind ourselves, as Heraclitus said, that not only can you not step in the same river twice, but that the way up is the same as the way down.
Hell, man, who the hell is Glenn?
We do need to keep going. This isn't a once more over the breach with those perfidious Albion, but we do need to keep trying. How do we go on? You know what?
They say when it rains, it pours.
And
my car fucking exploded. My schedule's completely booked up. I'm broke. I'm moving.
how do we go on? You know,
My tripod is gone. So,
how do we go on? I still encourage Cam to try the comic corrective. The comic corrective, it's the perspective by incongruity. It's getting a view on things that comes from looking at it from a deliberately opposite, contradictory point of view.
it's been some 150,000 takes later of what I think I might want, but clearly don't know what that would be. And at this point, I'm a little bit scared to find out.
That production of Finnegan's Wake at the Blethers that Neil did was quite a challenge. I was invited because I know Neil, and Monique was there because she was appearing in the play.
There was this one performance where there were literally two people in the audience. I think it was like a dad and his son or something like that.
No write-up even in the local press, and the flyers, wrappers for tomorrow's tarts.
Supposedly, if there are more cast members than there are audience members, then the cast can vote and decide whether to do the show or not. And I was like, well, I vote not to do the show, and head straight to the bar. And I forget if it was Shum or Sean, but they were like, no, come on, let's just do it for the kid, you know? And I was like, oh my God, okay, fuck it, you know? But I'm like totally just gonna like phone this in.
Yeah.
There had been this one line that I'd been kind of like struggling with. I was coming up to it, and for some reason I looked out into the audience, and I saw the kid, and I said the line directly to him. And we just had this like, this is what it's all about, you know, art and acting. It's not about like huge audiences, you know, or like thunderous applause. It's about a human connection. I will never forget that feeling, you know, or that kid.
You know, it's any old Wednesday. That's the challenge. Life isn't about the peaks of the Saturday nights or the Friday nights. I remember on any old Wednesday, I'd gone out trout fishing with my dad. We went to this little spring creek called Pug's Creek. Pug was apparently my dad's uncle, and he was given this little piece of land. Normally we catch little speckled trout in there, but I think we caught at least 24 fish, and they were good big fish. We stretched those fish out on the little sidewalk in front of the house and took a few pictures, and there was this guy across the street named Spencer who knew someone at the TV station. We were basically slotted, my dad and I, to come on. Trouble is that Dad had been nipping at the sherry most of the day, and I was fairly young. I was probably only about 10 years old, and I was getting a little worried because he was getting a little bit tight, and we still had to get up to the TV station and do the interview. This was getting wrong. I was worried about him. I was worried about the fact that we caught about 24 fish when 6 was the limit. But, you know, we were going to be on TV and we were going to just have to pull this off. On our way, the transmitter literally got hit by lightning. So we didn't end up going on.
God damn it.
You know, we didn't go on TV that night, and perhaps that's a good thing, but that's the exception. The rule is that, you know, that every day it was his sherry that helped him get along. And, you know, we face these things in life. We need to challenge them. In that getting on, there is my father comes sliding down Ann Street on a stolen violin. He's dancing jigs alongside the ocean and singing torch songs to the sea. He's arguing aesthetics with hurling winds, and he's still having his nightmares about words. That's how we get along. We don't get away from these things.
Doing everything all at once. And I truly feel like I'm about to fucking explode.
I remember during his remission, he was brought home, and him and I went back out to Pug's Creek, but we weren't fishing this time. We were hoping to maybe see a partridge. And I had never spent time alone with my dad when he was sober, and I was shy of him. And he stopped the car, and I looked at him, and he looked out, and I knew that he pointed with his eyes. There's a bird over there, and we had the 22 in the back seat, not loaded, but he had a shell set on top of the radio. And I said, should I turn off the radio? And he said, no. And I think that was because any change in the noise would make the bird fly away. And he opened the door, and he put the shell in the 22, and he shot the bird in the ditch, and I went out and got it. We got back in the car, and we didn't speak the whole way home. And he passed away not long after that. And I've never gotten over that shyness. But you know, we go on.
And then there was this other sellout performance of 5 audience members, you know, and I was like, you know, but don't get discouraged, you know, you're going to find the connection, and it's, you know, it's going to be great. And so I look out into the audience, and there's one guy, he was sleeping, and then 3 audience members were on their phones, and then the 5th and final audience member was yawning, and I felt nothing. But, you know, I did realize something, and that huge audiences and thunderous applause don't suck.
Neil's plans for Grimm's fairy tales at the Blethers Festival are, let's just say, they're grand plans. When Neil goes deep, he goes so deep he might even like kind of come out the other side. We tend to think of a geographical location as something that comes with a kind of guarantee of its isness, of its there-ness. Who knows? What if you had fallen asleep and you didn't know, but people moved you from one place to another, and you woke up and you looked out the window? You might think that's Waterloo or Georgia, and you wouldn't really be mistaken. Waterloo, of course, is in Ontario and in Canada. It's about an hour west of Toronto, which is also in Canada.
How was the first rehearsal? I mean, I came back to the Blethers Festival, right? Because I really trust Neil, you know, but honestly, I'm a little like scared for him. I feel like he might be like having a fucking nervous breakdown or something. He's like talking about the fisherman and the wife living in a bowl on the seashore. I mean, what the fuck?
Somehow he went to the second last door, and that second last door, usually Sheila's there to stop anyone going out there, but now you're at the back of the building, beyond the blue, the red, and the yellow doors, and you're out in the fields at that point. And what do you do against such disorientation? I can imagine him out there seeing himself reflected and refracted through all of these buildings, and no matter how many different versions of himself are there before him, he's really nowhere. We seek to fit in, and I think that's what Cam's trying to do. He's trying to creep through the sewers of his own life.
I mean, I love him. He's such a sweet guy, but
where do we fit in? We fit into didn't at that point for sure. He probably has several codexes, Verorium, and maybe even the odd Festschrift. He's going for a full Grimm immersion.
Oh, and then, okay, get this. So, I'm the fisherman, like he cast me as the fisherman. I'm like, cool. I love this character. I think it's going to be great. So what does he say today? He's like, oh, so I was thinking that maybe every night everyone would play a different character. No, I'm sure. I know it's going to work out fine. Again, I trust him so much and everything, but honestly, I'm a little worried for him, but I'll be okay.
The sculptor Eduardo Palazzi once said that he did 1,000 hand movements a day in order to live. And I frankly, I think Neil, he could be a sculptor. To be perfectly frank, I think we weren't doing too badly, because he did go past Sheila out to the fields. There's no question about that. But if he gets to the building with the 3 blue doors, he's in the wrong place, and Cam's not going to find anything. He's not going to find it. The 3 blue doors are wrong.
Like when you say like a bowl, like do you mean like one of those like little cups like at the fair or whatever, that like goes around? Like, are we supposed to be sitting in that?
As I understand it, the fisherman and his wife live in this pot by the seashore. Now that sounds perhaps a little cramped, even in, I don't know, Bavaria or Württemberg. At the yellow door, there are stairs going up, and there's an elevator that can get you there at the same time. So you can kind of going up and potentially coming down at the same time. It's kind of like, I don't know, Escher or Bloody Stupid Johnson built this place. So I'm guessing that Cam was going up and I was going down, or Cam was going up and I was going down. It's happened before.
Is there anything in the bowl? Just the 2 of us in there? Like, Are there seats in the bowl?
I hope that that Neil comes to a decision about, when is a bowl a ditch and when is a ditch a shack.
I mean, when I read it, I just thought we were going with that, so.
And a shack, as they say in Quebec, on vit dans un shack de coke, to refer to, I'm not really sure what they're referring to. And
is there liquid in it? I think that was something that we should, be aware of.
What happens when these paths collide? That must be the birth of conflict right there. Our ways of seeing, as it were, colliding with other people's ways of seeing. We wink as much as we blink. Whitman's noiseless, patient spider is alone on a promontory, surrounded and yet detached. This is a paradox, to be both surrounded and yet detached. And I think that this is at the core of what a film about Cam is about, and ultimately what his journey through Richie is about, is to be that little spider endlessly speeding forth gossamer threads, seeking to connect the cosmos.
Now, one night I might be the flounder and the next night I might be the wife. Is that what you're asking or saying? Or
we're all really just like the Scroobius Pip. We are, bird, fish, human, lizard all at once. If we're trying to go to a destination, whether that's an actual place or a sense of self, we're trying to get somewhere that is continuous with the place we're at now. So if we just draw the circle a little bigger, we aren't actually lost. We're just a little further away, perhaps. Down by the pond in the center of Cremant, there's this little dune. I went out just to get some B-roll, and there in the distance, I saw Neil standing. I thought he might have been, taking a walk or stretching his legs, but he just stood and looked out over the pond, and he was pointing or gesturing at something. I thought maybe it was one of the seagulls at first, but they were gone, and he kept gesturing. The birds are all gone, but Neil keeps gesturing.
Oh, and remember that I told you that Glenn, that he's coming to the festival to document this whole thing. I saw him today. He was getting out of his car, and I don't know where I was coming from. I'm pretty sure that he saw me too, but when you I was just kind of awkward. I don't know what to do.
Yesterday, when I was unloading my equipment out of the car, I saw Monique, and I just, I kind of froze. And I just remember that night with the candles in the backyard, and we didn't talk. All we did was, I think she brushed a mosquito off my cheek.
Pretty sure that the place where they're housing him, or he's supposed to set up his stuff, is this door that's 2 feet away, and he gets out of the car, and okay, so I don't know if he saw me or not, but I think he did. But anyway, he first of all walks one way, goes right when he's supposed, the door's right there. So he walks that way. Oh, and he's carrying all this equipment and stuff, and it's falling. Finally, he walks to the door. He stands in front of the door, I swear to God, for 5 minutes. And I mean, there's a sign on it, he knows that's where he's supposed to go. But 10 years later, and he's still the same, goofy, funny, charming guy. But yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be really awkward when we actually see each other and say hi.
Well, taking one thing with another and sailing by and large, I'd have to say that the film's coming along. It's coming along quite well. That reminds me of a story, actually. A story that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right at the moment, but that is really, when we get down to it, the relationship between a mist and a river and a person and a quest and a tale to be told, I'm sure.
So Neil seemed to struggle a little bit at the donor dinner. Yeah, at one point I saw him in the corner, and he was just talking into his phone. And then at the dinner table, he did a little better. We're all uncomfortable with those things.
There's this wonderful little facility on the Conestoga River there near Cremant, and you can rent kayaks. works.
Glenn, seriously, he is such a trooper. He was like messing with the paddles and stuff. Total dork, but charming as ever.
Generally, you go into one of these things one at a time, okay? So already I'm kind of behind the 8 ball or up the creek.
What they're supposed to be doing. A lot of my friends and my family have found those things, and it feels like I've just been left behind here to fend for myself. I've been forgotten. So I wanted to be able to portray that, portray my journey from, well, finding nothing to finding the thing. And that's sort of what Richie had to go through. And what better way than to portray him myself?
I've been in a canoe, but I've never been in a kayak.
Somehow we ended up out in the middle of the lake.
I thought that the word was actually pronounced kyak, but no.
I started to panic because I don't like boats.
There's this thing called a barrel roll where, I'd seen it on I don't know if it was a Jacques Cousteau special or what I was watching, but you just initiate a turn and keep going and up you come.
We had our big fundraising gala last night, and the actors were there in costume, in character. It's sort of a little treat that we have for the angel donors.
One person I found very interesting, I was very charmed by him, is, I think his name was Len.
Talked to Gina, who of course is the owner at the Delmonico where I go for my tarts.
He was interviewing me for the company, which I was very flattered by. And he asked me
I had on a fisherman's sweater, and we've decided to go with a mustache.
I was looking around the room trying to find Neil. I saw him back at the near the door of things, and he was looking at his phone, I think.
Just between you and me, don't publish this, but he wants to stage the whole thing in a giant fishbowl. That's a very bold artistic statement, and we have come to expect bold artistic statements from Neil.
I realize
He's like an actor's dream director because he's always pushing buttons and getting away from the cookie cutter, preconceived ideas.
he has unconventional ways of staging plays. I'm all for it. If you want to take me into the park and
East doesn't help because where's north, where's west? Campus, it's a university, so that's not picking out anything unique in the universe for us, really. And hall, it's a long, flat building. Anyhow, I gave as specific directions as I could. I indicated on a map where he was to park. There's the yellow door, not the red door. The yellow door is the door to come in, and it's at the back. I'm pretty sure I've made that plain to people, but
Glenn was there. He was documenting the whole event.
I started across the room to say hi.
He,
Wouldn't you know, halfway across the room, it strikes me.
so he came up to me and,
The imp of the perverse just brings these thoughts to one at the wrong time. I'm thinking about Zeno's paradox and how
he was like, I like your mustache. So it, we both just like chuckled, so, yeah, it was really nice of him to just kind of, that we could laugh about it.
even if I ran like hell, I'm only getting halfway there each time I start across the room, and you can keep cutting that half indefinitely.
Yeah, so same old Glenn, he's a good guy, so yeah.
But I did get across somehow and said hello to Monique, and she was great. It was really nice. She was
many interesting people, most of them married. And the singles were too young for me, although,
Yeah, so that was that. That was last night.
Any old Wednesday, you go into your kitchen, you open the kitchen cupboard, you take out a teacup. That's one of the Wednesdays. That's kind of a neutral Wednesday. On another Wednesday, you have gone to that cupboard and you grabbed a cup and it knocked over a glass and it broke. And, that's that kind of Wednesday. And on the third Wednesday,
I don't know if Auden's been into the cupboards or what's going on, but you open it up and you see the crack in there and you realize that opens up the laneway to the land of the dead. Wednesdays are like that. We all get on the up and we all go down on the down, but you know, when you see the sign coming into town and, you know, welcome Cremont, the friendly town, that's easy. Got that. Puts me in the right frame of mind. I don't think I'm going to go kayaking this time. I'm going to ask Monique if she'll go to the Elora Gorge with me. The Elora Gorge, it has a zip line going over it, and even though I've never actually done zip lining, it looks like they have you in there pretty securely. I'm not sure how zip lines work, whether you go down one at a time or two at a time, but I'm hoping you know, that she'll come to the Elora Gorge with me. And
so I was Zooming with my parents, and they were like, you know, how you doing? How's it going? And I was like, fine, you know. And
I stopped at the hardware store, and a fellow named Walter there showed me this thing that's plumbing flange that when you wiggle it, it sounds like a turkey. Anyhow, he said Cremont.
So here's what went wrong as far as I can reconstruct it. And these are the exact instructions that I gave to Cam. I think we were okay with the parking. It was East Campus Hall on Phillip Street. Go to the back of the building. You'll see 3 doors, a red door, a blue door, and a yellow door. And I have stayed on the yellow in these instructions. So the yellow door, go through the yellow door, go immediately up the stairs. When you see that wall in front of you, turn right, go through those doors. Either one is fine. Don't worry, left, right, just go through those doors and then they're hard left.
rehearsals are a little bit challenging, but you know, I still totally trust Neil, and I'm sure everything's gonna work out just fine.
Any old Wednesday from the friendly town of Cremont.
Yeah, then about a half an hour later, my sister Kirsten called, and she was like, maybe I would come to Cremont for a weekend.
It's the channel that puts the peak into the midweek.
So, fast forward, her flight got canceled. Yeah, twice. So she wasn't able to make it.
Maybe we could go bowling, or maybe we could do something. So I know southwestern Ontario fairly well. There's Linwood, St. Jacobs. It has what I would describe as overly sincere woodwork. The pond in Wellesley, a lovely place. Maybe we could get the kayaks out there, I'm thinking. And I was going to ask Monique on this little trip. I didn't ask her. I don't know why. You know, speaking of the past, I wonder if Monique remembers that Christmas. Monique and I went into the kitchen and I stole a couple of yeast rolls that my mom had just baked. We aren't one at the start and one at the end. We are broken apart into the sand. Who do you summon when you say, "Who am I?" Looking in the mirror, eating our stolen yeast rolls.
We're all trying to bring light to the darkness that is behind our eyes that we call I. And I think that Cam's journey is that very journey to find a sense of self in the other.
It's a film about me.
I haven't written anything down in years, but I wrote the directions to East Campus Hall in my studio on 2 pieces of paper for Cam, and I sent them to him. On the first piece of paper was a verbal description using words. Second page, there was a visual description. I put a staple on those 2. I folded them. I put them in an envelope. I put Cam's address and Georgia on it. I sent it at least 3 weeks ahead of his visit. I'm not sure where Cam and Bryor receive their actual snail mail, but I think they need to check in all possible spots.
Well, thank you for asking me and for giving me this assignment. I think it went pretty well.
Red and White is a well-stocked grocery store. I found everything I need, and there's a really nice woman named Betty who was bagging my stuff, and then she insisted even on carrying it outside. And I thought maybe she could give me one of the pronunciations, and so I asked Betty, where am I? And she said, you're in the parking lot. And I said, no, what's the name of the town? And she said, Cremant. And that's, we got the groceries in the car, and I thought I'd try, well, who am I? And she said, I don't know.
What connects all of these things? Well, in this film about Cam, what connects is what force will bring these things together. Well, I'm happy to announce now at this point, what connects these? How are we going to get all these things together? And I've proposed to Neil a prolegomena to a theory of.
There's lots to choose from, but I think any old Wednesday is the banner that we're marching under.
Who knows, speaking of Christmas, hopefully I'll see my family then.
She kind of convinced me I might have been going at this a little wrong and gave me the address for this speed dating.
Part of the problem with Glenn is that he's super, super smart. He gets really passionate. I don't think it's a really great trait for potential dates.
When it comes to speed dating, I kind of feel that I want to say, I don't know anything about that. I've never been there, or I don't know when you might have, or why I went to speed dating. But
so I thought with the speed dating, because you only have a certain amount of time, ask a question, so then they would have to take up the few minutes remaining before the bell dings or however it works. I've not actually done it before, so great idea, right?
I've never been to a speed dating. I've never been dating, but I went to this speed dating thing and quickly asked, are you afraid of being alone at the end of your life? Like all of us sort of philosophically will be. And that didn't go over well. There were these little white telephones on the table, and she was on it right away.
Poor Glenn.
We're hanging on to each other. I'm hanging on to Walter. I'm listening to how Betty pronounces Cremant.
If people don't understand what a film about Cam is about, I have to return to my friend Foghorn Leghorn. He says to some little chicken at one point, I keep pitching him and you keep missing him. You're built too low, boy. So, yes, if people don't understand what this film about Cam is about.
I don't know. I think people are making problems where there aren't any.
Wondering if there's anyone out there who actually gets you.
Tales of Cremant. Cremant, its people and its environs.
I think we're getting somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere.